Alright, so I'm totally doing the YouTube voice. Oh, that's fine. It's whatever, right? So anyway, Toad asked me to do like a little recap of the Scion SRS now that it's basically finished. So this character was designed with one goal, to farm my Flask, which I've started. I'm gonna keep doing that until I die. Hopefully I won't die though. So the entire point of the build is to tank Cirrus. I haven't actually tried tanking the Meteor yet because I wussed out, but theoretically I should be able to. Just the other day we crafted the final piece of gear, which I'll go over in a minute, which was the booties. It's designed to have 76,000 armor, 90% max res, capped chaos res, decent regen. It has like 600, like 10% life regen, with Taste of Hate, Fizz's Fire on helmet, Fizz's Lightning on helmet. So it ends up with 29% Fizz conversion as well. With, this was a last minute swap, but I actually got, not crit immunity, but close to it. I have the crit Pantheon, crit mastery with the crit shield. And so I have 86 crit reduction. And then I also had, because I'm immune to ailments as well with Purity, I have Arakali and Ralakesh. So Fizz dots do very little, Bleed does like nothing. I'm even CB immune. And Arakali just for even more dot mitigation. So this character is like, with multi-strike in, I think fully ramped up, I have something like 18 million DPS. I'll have to double check though, but it's a lot. It looks a lot lower because it takes time to ramp, which is why it's designed for a boss killer. Mapping wise, it's like, it's okay, you know, it's okay. I'm level 100 obviously. But yeah, for bossing, absolutely amazing. The damage on Cirrus was actually super clean. Super clean. I think it was like 2-3 minute Cirrus kills or something. So anyway, obviously using the there is some like obvious meta gear here, but there's some slightly different things that we did to switch it up. So we have the Covenant, United in Dream, Amanamu's Gaze combo, right? We got this from Ziz. So this build wouldn't exist without Ziz. So, you know, thank you, Ziz. But yeah, this combination just gives you a metric ton of chaos damage. And then this gives your damage like, I actually only have 4 jewels, which is scuffed, but it's supposed to give you 30% more damage, basically. If you're familiar with the build, like the progression of the build, we were trying to originally farm an All's Uprising. We did not get the right All's Uprising, and we just ran out of patience. And so we went to the backup strat after corrupting the level 4 Enlighten, which we didn't have at the time of rolling the build. We got this on the way, which allowed us to get just enough reservation to fit in an Ashes. I had to divine this like 20 times, but it allows me to perfectly fit in my auras without the need for the All's Uprising. And this is also really cool. The quality is actually really good on this build. So I actually have a 21 quality Divergent Summon Raging Spirits. With this and the Ashes, I have 50 quality, which allows me to summon a max of 25 SRS. Now, I actually realize now, thanks to Baylor, he told me something that ended up being very true. You actually really do miss the minion movement speed. So I actually do tend to map, hell, I even bossed with the default quality, which is just minion movement speed. But yeah, I would keep that in mind if you try to roll this character, that the minion movement speed rolls really matter. Maybe get it on another ring. As far as the gear goes, it was a journey to craft each piece of gear. I guess, where do I even begin? So I ended up crafting the helm, the boots, and the gloves all in one go, bing bang boom. I just had lots of fractured bases and currency. So this I just pumped essences into and then did veiled prefix. So suffixes cannot be changed, veiled chaos, unveiling the +2. It actually kind of needs to be, well, +2 doesn't really, I think it can be +1. Yeah, it needs to be +1. Because I need a level 23 Purity of Fire. Otherwise, like if I put this, let's say this was socketed here instead. Yeah, it would actually lose 2 max fire res. So this character has been min-maxed like crazy. Like the gem levels, the gem sockets, everything. It's been super min-maxed. Let me turn that on so I don't die. So this was also a massive hurdle in the build. We got an Iron Reflexes Invocation, but I couldn't use this until I had a +3 max res relic. Now, I'm allowed to use cold or lightning, but it's optimal with fire. But this did bite me later because for complicated reasons, Searing Exarch has a debuff that will minus your fire res, but thanks to melding, you can actually run with cold or lightning max res. The melding setup allows you to not take the penalty of the debuff. So I ended up taking what I got. I got fire. This does screw me over on Exarch, but you know, it's fine. The benefit of the max fire res roll though is I have perfect implicits. As you can see, I have fire on the booties, temp chains on the helm, and minion damage on the gloves. So this is like a perfect implicit setup. If I had lightning, I would have to drop temp chains, which is a massive damage loss. And if I did gloves, I would also lose like 10% damage. Not with this implicit, but with like a slightly better implicit. But I'm happy enough with these. So, but this is actually really cool. This is actually a YouTube craft. And when I say YouTube, I don't mean me. So one of you watching in YouTube actually DM'd me. I can even show you actually. Without linking all my DMs here, Darkrai. This is from YouTube. One of you guys told me how to craft this belt. Yeah, I'll leave this on the screen for a second, obviously, but the TLDR is you chaos spam the suffixes, both the Flask mods. Now, I didn't need the extra suffix on this build, especially, but you can totally craft it the way Darkrai mentioned, where you do multi-mod, suffixes cannot be changed. But I just did suffixes cannot be changed, reforge life, and then this was not a hunter belt originally. When I hit the good life roll, I hunter exalted. I missed the hunter exalt, but theoretically, if you're luckier than me, you'll get max life roll here. Or Flask have a chance not to consume. Both are very good. Suppression again on the boots. A lot of this gear is very generic, sort of suffixes first, prefixes after. The reason I craft like this is it's quite easy to get either prefixes or suffixes and then do meta modding, like suffixes cannot be changed with Veiled Chaos to craft the, opposite. So, as you can see, essence the gloves. I think I essenced the lightning res, hit spell suppression, and I did suffixes cannot be changed, reforge chaos, which will guarantee chaos res on the boots, then did suffixes cannot be changed again, the fracture. Yeah, ideally these would be fractured boots, I just didn't have a pair. And again, very similar with the helm. Fractured suppression, essence spam, suffixes cannot be changed, reforged life, similar to the belt actually, and then craft fizzes fire. And rings again, very simple. A cool trick here actually, I don't know if I've already mentioned in a previous video, but a cool trick with the rings is once you've crafted your suffixes, so you can do reforge chaos harvest here for the chaos res and just hope to get 2 good res rolls. So you can see that's how I did these rings, right? But if you want a good life roll to accompany that, instead of just crafting life and then you don't have an open prefix to craft, you can do suffixes cannot be changed, veiled chaos. 1 in 10 chance for this to brick, by the way. This happened to me once or twice. But as long as you have an open prefix, you can block mana, and it has something like an 83% chance to unveil life. Very important you block mana though. So if you end up with 3 prefixes when this happens, you just kind of have to annul. It's kind of bricked a little bit. But yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen. If it does, it is what it is. It's a pain. And then the shield. This is probably the hardest piece of gear to craft. I just had to straight up get a fractured base. So this took a long time to farm. We had to farm Harby Orbs, Fracturing Orbs for this, which I thought would be common at the start of the league. Turns out these devils take 1 week to farm each. There's probably some farming methods you can do to help, but these are awful to farm. I would not recommend crafting the shield the way I did, but there's not really many ways to do it. If you can't get a fractured base, you basically just have to luck into max res. It can be any, by the way, because you can res swap the max res, which is a cool tip. You can't do that after it's fractured though, so keep that in mind. But you have to kind of luck into fire res and spell suppression. Luckily, saving grace here is crit is the only mod on the crit reduction is the only crit mod on the shield. So once you have the max res and suppression, you can do suffixes cannot be changed, reforge crit to guarantee the crit suffix. And then, similar to the belt and the helmet, you just do suffixes cannot be changed, reforge life, and you're Gucci. A little bit of a side tip here. If you don't have a fractured shield, and you do manage to craft a shield, you can actually Hunter Exalt for guaranteed life. Because it's the... I'll just show you, because I think it's fascinating. This might help you craft other items, because you might, you might notice something similar on a different base. but there's actually only one hunter prefix. So if your suffixes are full and you hunter exalt, it's guaranteed life percent, which is amazing. So it's actually, the better version of the shield is not fractured. So, you know, there's a little bit of saving grace as to why you might not want to craft on a fractured base. Yeah, and then I guess just to mention the Flask setup, obviously from my Toxic Rain Pathfinder, I fell in love with the Flask tech, right? I think having permanent flasks, at least these 3 defensive flasks, is extremely valuable. And so because I loved it so much, that's the motivation for the Scion, because it allows me to get Pathfinder while not being, you know, all the way on the right side of the tree. And so I've got the exact same Flask setup pretty much that I have on the Toxic Rain build. I basically just copied that 1-to-1 here, and it worked beautifully. It even does the life gain on heal thing. So you'll see if I just like AFK in a map. I'm not going to do it in a high tier map because I'm not... Well, actually, I probably could. Yeah. I mean, the Molten Shell is kind of carrying here, but you get the idea. Now, the motivation from this character actually came mostly... Now, obviously, I knew Covenant, United in Dream, Amanamu's Gaze. I knew this combination of items would be insane. But what I didn't realize is how squishy the softcore versions of this build were. Now, keeping in mind, these are not considered squishy builds, right? Like, you've seen a lot of people do Necros and do Ubers on softcore, and they do it fine. But from my tastes, from my standards, I considered them quite squishy. Like, not uber viable. Like, I'm not gonna be face tanking Uber Awakener, right? And so I did roll this. I did actually roll the Necromancer, and it kind of failed. Like, I got to red maps and I was taking damage, right? Which is like not good. And so this character, Summon Raging Quinn, was actually the original character, which I abandoned temporarily to farm gear for this character. And so the reason I went with this character is because of that Pathfinder tech with the flasks, allowing me to get 80k armor, well 77k armor with the iron reflexes, 90 max res, the healing, the taste permanent flasks. I mean, this setup just ended up far superior defensively. Offensively, I think you're taking 50% damage loss. Not overall, like, instead of doing like 30 million, I'm doing 20 million, right? So I'm copping that much damage loss, 33% less damage. Basically, I lose like a damage link, right? That's not ideal, but it's more than enough to do Ubers, and so I decided that damage loss was acceptable to me. One more thing is the cluster setup. Now, originally, I wasn't going to use a cluster setup because there's an Orc Qual that gives you this effect, and so I was going to go with an Orc Qual and ditch this. However, because I needed this, this whole thing only exists because of the aura clusters. This is what allowed me to drop the All's Uprising for the Ashes, because the Ashes alone wasn't enough. So ultimately though, in hindsight, the cluster setup is super value. I didn't realize how much value it was. This allows you to change your Orc Qual, and there are much better Orc Quals than this, right? You get access to 5 additional spirits, which is 25% more damage. You get 50% minion movement speed, which is nuts for like mapping. You get access to this node, which I've seen a lot of SRS builds not using, but this node gives you 30% minion movement speed, 10% attack and cast speed, and 15% damage. This one node justifies this whole large cluster, right? I mean, that's insane. Because obviously all your minions are created recently. Like, you can literally sustain your minions created recently. So all your minions basically have this buff. The only things I'm missing on this character is just 2 things. I mean, I'm sure there's more to min-max. There always is more to min-max. But the 2 things that I'm missing, Awaken Multi-Strike and Awaken Unleash. The Awaken Unleash is mostly quality of life. It just lets you get more spirits out, like, easier. And then the Awaken Multi-Strike is like 15% more damage. So it would be the cherry on the top. But, you know, it's so hard to get Awaken Gems this league, so, you know, I'm happy with where the build's at, and I plan to continue farming Cirrus until he drops me my Flask, or until I die, so. Yep. Ethical dilemma chat. If I leave Molten Shell on, it makes my PP look big.